Hey there. I want to create a little video to help people get started um, in the game. The first, there are three choices. I covered this in my other video on location guide, but there are three choices. You can choose um, a forest, a desert, or plains, and I will make a video on all three of those. And I'm going to start though at a forest. And what I'm doing is I'm picking a forest tile that is near a city. Okay. And so that one will be fine. We need to name our city, whatever you want. The website that you need to go to sign up for Gala Games and whatnot, if you haven't already done that, is app.gala.games. And that will help you be able to sign up and play. And the free server and the competition server are both free, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Farmville on steroids. Now, what we're going to do is we need money in order um, to get started growing things. Right now, they start you with wheat. That's not like a great thing to start with unless you have some other use for it. I went ahead and deleted that because it doesn't get 3 water. I can put, if I would like, I can put another wheat patch, and then the farmer can have two. But let's see. I think that this one will grow fast enough that a second one is not really necessary unless I need another farmer and wheat patch to go with it. Okay, so he's going to keep collecting wheat. We're going to go ahead and sell wheat. A lot of people will go ahead and just delete the wheat process altogether and end up selling gasoline a little bit later. I myself prefer not to sell gasoline unless I have to. That's a little scary for me. And bang for the buck, if you sell 10 gasoline, you get about 14K. And if you sell 11 wheat 11 times, you get 33K. So unless you're in a big rush to get the money, it doesn't hurt to grow the wheat and just let him be doing his thing while I'm doing my thing. And basically what I want to figure out is we have no shade because we didn't get next to a mountain. This one is like catacorner diagonal from us, but that does not cast any shade or wind block. Now, when you have a wind turbine that you want to set up, if you do it on the side of a mountain, you keep in mind that a mountain will do shade or wind block for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's how many shade. It will give you 5 shade in the first one all the way up to 1 shade, and we're talking about the whole row. And it's similar to like a river or um, ocean as far as the effect goes. It's the whole side that is there. Um, but anyway, I will get into a video later on about the effects of different things. I need to try to be a little bit expedient. I've tried to make this video a few times, and what has happened is I've been long-winded or tried to put too much into one video, and it turned out to be too long. So I keep having to remake. So Forgive me if I leave out any information. You can ask me in the comments, and I'll be happy to share any info that I know on the game. Okay, so we started with 9 wood, and that should be enough for a few minutes. We're going to end up having to get a lumberjack. But these, what I want to do is, in order to make money, I want to sell grapes. I want to grow, harvest, and sell grapes. So that is our plan. That's our goal. I like to think about when I'm building a town, and it looks like we can sell weed again. When I'm building a town, what I like to do is figure out what it is that I want to do with the town and then work backwards. It's like, suppose that I wanted to build a cakery and make cakes. Well, then I would look into what's involved in making cakes. And, you know, in making cakes, you need batter to make cakes. Well, what's involved in making batter? Well, in batter, it takes flour, eggs, and butter. Okay, well, flour and eggs are pretty straightforward, but then what does it take to make butter? Well, butter requires you to have 1 sugar, 2 salt, and 2 milk. So those all are basic ingredients that that require no, processing of any other thing to get. Those are your basic things. So if I were going to make cakes, my first step would be to get a setup to make butter. And so I would need to raise cows, I would need to grow salt, and I would need to grow sugar cane and salt field. So we're not going to do that right now. All I'm going to do is show you how to get started growing grapes. And the thing is, even if I'm planning to do the cakes, I want to start with grapes because you can earn money and decent points. You get 200 points as of the time of this video. You get 200 points for every time you sell grapes. And you also get 41,000 for every 10 grapes that you sell. And you have to sell things in groups of 10 or 100. In our case, we don't have any water access, so we're going to be selling it in groups of 10. Now, in order to make grapes, you have to have lumber. And then once you have lumber, you can plant your grapes, which costs, I'm going to do the Pinot Noir grapes vines, and those cost $5,000 each. So that's a bit expensive, but it's tight getting started. But once you're started, you're fine. You're good to go. I can remove this well because we're not going to need it right now. And wells really don't cost that much. So if I deleted it and then decided, oh, I do need a well, I could certainly get one back without much difficulty. Now, since this road is already jutted out a little bit, that would be a good place to make a wind turbine because we're going to need energy and water drums in order to make lumber. And so energy can be the cheapest way to make energy. And like I say, we're going to be a little bit tight on our budget here. The cheapest way is a wind turbine, and it is $2,500. But in addition to the wind turbine, we are going to need, and we have to be careful. You don't want to put anything within 2 spaces. And if it's tall, like a silo, you don't want it within 3 spaces. You want to give it 3 empty spaces for a silo and 2 for most other buildings. Some buildings, 1, like a sand mine or a ATV shed or a wood shed. Those ones only do 1 shade or 1 wind block effect. Okay, so, and oil pumps don't require any, they don't cause any wind effect. The only thing that they do is pollution, which can be a bit of a pain. Okay, we're at 10 wheat again, so it's time to sell wheat. And so when we collect energy and water drums, we are going to need to put them in a warehouse. Now, if I put my warehouse right here, it'd be 1, bam, 2. It's going to cripple my wheat field. So I'm just going to move my wheat field because it's a little bit cheaper to do that than it is to figure out a different methodology. Um, the reason why I want to put my warehouse where I want to put it, which is up here, is because if I um, if I put it here, then it's convenient to my um, wind turbine. And you'll see when we hire our little worker, he is a little roly-poly and he is slow. I'm going to let the worker, the farmer, take that wheat, and then I'm going to remove this. And what we can do is put our water tower here, or I think it's called a water tower, that creates, let's go to the industrial. I don't know if you noticed, we've got little tabs here: farm, ranch, terrain, industrial, and trade. I would just familiarize myself with all these things, but under the farm tab, anything, any crops that you get will go into, except for trees, oak trees and trees go into the lumber yard or the woodshed. And the difference between the lumber yard and the woodshed, the only difference is that the woodshed only holds 10, the lumber yard holds 20, and the woodshed only costs $5K, and the lumber yard costs 50. So that's really the only difference is there. There's a time and place for both. At the beginning of the game, you're probably going to more likely use woodsheds. When you start reaching end game, you're probably going to go with lumber yards. But the silo holds any crops that are picked, like the wheat, sugarcane, salt, grapes, anything like that will go in there, and it holds 20. And then the storehouse holds any processed goods. Like if you created a windmill, you made some flour with your wheat, then you can put that in a storehouse. Any ranch items, eggs, milk, wool, those would go in a storehouse. Any industrial type items other than the fuel, the crude oil, and gasoline and petroleum will all go into fuel storage. But other than that, anything that you create is going to go into a warehouse. So if you buy it off the industrial tab, then it goes in a warehouse. If you buy it off the farm tab, like the winery, it's going to go, wine would go in the storehouse. So you want to, if you're creating wine, you don't want to forget to create your storehouse, because the worst feeling in the world is to realize that you wasted like 5 bottles of wine without creating a storehouse. So anyway, just play around with and look at the different things. I forgot what I was even trying to do here. We were looking at the water facility, and the water facility um, is here. It does not create shade or any other effect on your crops. It can be right next to touching your crops, and it's fine. And that's one of the only industrial things that I know of right offhand that is true of. So what we want to do though first is create a warehouse where we can store this stuff. Um, and that is going to be under the industrial tab. It's going to be 10K. It's going to take 3 of our wood. So we are, I'm scrolling in and out. And if you do the right mouse or the left mouse, those are the effects that you can have. This changes your perspective. You can do however you want. If you're like, is that facing the road, and you can't tell from where you are, you can just slide yourself around like this, and you can see. Okay, so it's time to sell wheat again, and we are building our warehouse. So we are down to um, 6 wood, 5 wood now. Okay, so we also need a water facility. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Now, if there's a particular order that you want this slow builder to build your stuff, then you probably need to click it down and just let it build, be patient, and let him finish building it, or at least like he's headed to it. Now, if I click over here and I build a lumber uh, lumber mill. I couldn't think of the name of it. Sorry about that. If you wanted to, once he's already determined that he's picked up wood and he's moving it over to there, then that's good to go. Now, we're going to probably go ahead and create about 10 water, and then I can delete this and get back 7,500 as long as I know that I don't need it for anything else. Now, if we're going grapes with 10 grapevines, and it takes 1 water drum per piece of lumber that you create. And like I said, it takes 1 lumber per grapevine to make a grapevine. The energy is going to be just pretty much ongoing. So we'll just leave that on. We'll have our worker going, and as long as we've got like room for the energy, we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and it takes 1 minute for the energy to create another one. It only takes, I believe, 30 seconds. And you can stop if you want to. Anything that's like that's running, you can stop it. It takes 30 seconds. So every time he gets around, puts his water drum in the thing and comes back, 30 seconds, he'll have another one. So it takes half the time to do that than it does that. So I can easily get 10 in there and not have to worry about the worker filling up the and this is a worker. Sometimes I call the builder a worker, and sometimes I call the worker a builder. But please understand they're 2 different things, and they have a definite purpose in the game. The worker will fetch the energy from the thing and put it in the warehouse. From the wind turbine, put it in the warehouse. They will, if I had a oil pump here, he would fetch the crude oil and put it in the thing for me. Certain things like this, the refinery, the power plants, most things have their own little worker. This has its own little lanky guy that's running around delivering the water to the warehouse. But some things don't. This obviously has nowhere for a worker to be. Um, and the same with the oil pump. They have, if you look at it and you say, well, does that have a place for a worker? Uh, if so, then it's probably built in. If not, then it's not. And you need a worker house to accommodate that. You can rotate stuff. The worker, you can't turn him on or off. You can't stop him. And that's unfortunate in my opinion. And that is true of the lumberjack and the farmer. You cannot turn these guys off. You either have them and they're working, or you don't have them. And so, what we're going to end up doing is this water facility. We're like I said, we're not going to need more than 10 drums of water because we can, if we build up to 10 grapevines, then we will, okay, it's time to sell wheat. Sorry about that. If we get up to 10 grapevines, then we will be able to sell grapes about every, the ones that we're going to do are the Pinot Noir, which takes 7.5 minutes to grow. And we're going to be sure to keep them away from anything that would shade them or cause them to be slower than that. So every 7.5 minutes, I say that loosely because these guys are obviously a little slow, and they have to go, and once it's ripe, they go and they pick it and bring it back and put it in there, and then they have to get a piece of wood and run it all the way out. So it's not really 7.5 minutes, but it's 7.5 minutes of grow time. So give it about 8. And if you're talking 10 of them, there you would say, well, if you do that, then it would be a different number, but they're going to be staggered. So he may be dragging around and taking care of this one, and then the other one gets done and whatnot. I don't know if I mentioned the water tower takes 3 water in order to, and it shows it's got 3 out of 3 water. I'll explain water in another video, but this gives 2 to every tile around it, and that includes the corners, the diagonals. And so this is getting 2 from that. It takes 3 to grow wheat without having to water it. And then this marsh counts 1. So the water tower is getting 2 from that and 1 from the marsh. This is getting 2 from the pond and 1 from each of these marshes. So technically it has excess water, but that's not any benefit. It grows at the same speed based on other things about whether or not it's in shade or near pollution and whatnot. Okay, so if you notice when you click on the thing, you can see we've sold wheat 5 times already. And in my opinion, it's not slowed us down or put us out. Probably my speaking and explanation of all this has slowed us down a little more than anything. But the what the plan is going to be is we're going to remove this. We're going to put the lumber mill right here, and the reason is because I am going to when I get ready to build the gasoline processing type thing, I'll end up removing this and put on each side of this, I'll put a water pump. And my gas refinery will be here. So it'll be touching this water pump and that water pump. So it'll be getting 2 water drums. And I'm going to put a power plant on each side of it. Okay, so if I have I told you that we need energy and power. They're kind of the same thing. I call it power, but it's a power plant. It creates energy. And so if I put my lumber mill here, it will have one water from the water pump that I'm going to create, and it will have it'll actually have 3 energy, but it only needs 2 to operate, and it has 3 because it will be right next to a power plant. And so what else I'm going to do is I will probably put my other refinery. What I'll do is I'll have one refinery to do petroleum and one to do gasoline. That way I can just set them and forget them, and they'll do it. And we'll end up putting probably another fuel tank, but a fuel storage. But it depends on what we have money for when we get ready to do that, on what order we do things, but I'm not going to cover all that. Okay, we are at 10, so I am going to remove the water guy. So because we can use that extra money for what we're doing. So now I want to build the lumber mill, and I explained why I picked this location. Doesn't have to be. It's not going to affect our wheat crop because 1, 2, over and over. So this is as far as the shade effect from this goes. It's a 2-tile thing. So if you think of the way a horse moves in chess, where you got 1, 2, over, you can either do 1, 2. If it were here, it would be affected. If it were here or here, it would be affected. And it goes both ways, obviously, or off of all 4 sides. That is how I quickly check to see if something is going to be affected by shade. However, some things like this have 3 shade. Okay, it's time to sell our wheat again. And you want to select what you're going to sell, because you have to be careful. I don't know if you noticed when that water drum was highlighted. If you get in a hurry, you can sell the wrong thing, and that can really mess you up. It would cost us quite a bit to create another water facility and then sell it, because it's a net cost of 7,500. And I don't know if I explained, when you sell the ponds, you see how this is green? You get 5K for selling them. If I were to sell a marsh, it costs 5K. Okay. And the reason why I haven't sold these ponds yet is because if I don't have to sell all of them, I'm probably not going to. And the reason is, let me go ahead while we're chatting. We are out of wood, and I knew that was going to happen. Let's see if we do this here. 1, 2, over. Okay, we could put a lumberjack there. And lumberjack, believe it or not, is under the farm section. And it costs $50 a minute. So that they're kind of expensive. If you notice, here's our wages. Once we click this guy, it's going to go up to 160. Boom. See, there it is. So if you want to build something because you know your little worker or your little builder is slow, you can build it and just not click it like that and let it sit there until you're ready for it. So we can't finish this though until this lumberjack gets us a little bit of wood. Now, over here, if I could have this spot to grow trees, it would get 2 from that and 2 from that, which is 4, and 1 from that. But really, probably want to end up taking at least this one or maybe that one. Um, so that would be 2 water, 3, 4, 5, and if I leave that one 6, 7. So I think I'll just take this pond right here and go ahead and plant some trees. That way I'll remind myself, uh, you know, don't take that spot because it's for our trees. And trees take 7 water to grow. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and this would be 6, 7 water. So I can take this pond and be okay. And that gives us a little more money. And so what we want to do here is go ahead and let's start creating. We've got our water in there. We've got some energy. Our warehouse is full right now, but he's going to end up taking 2 energy and 1 water out of the warehouse to make this first piece of lumber, and then we will have more room for the worker to keep doing energy, and especially since it's a 2-to-1 ratio, it wouldn't hurt to keep generating that. Now, if we wanted to plant trees here, let's see if we have enough water to do that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 water, but I don't know if I said that 2 away from a pond counts 1. Right next to it counts 2, but 2 away counts 1. So let's see if we do our little thing with the 1, 2 over. Yes. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 water. And I want to go ahead and plant trees there. And you may be looking around at the screen and saying, you know what, you're in a forest. Why in the world do you want to plant trees? Well, when this slow little lumberjack is running around, if he has to run over here, let's make sure that, oh yeah, that's growing. It didn't pop right up, and it kind of made me worry that I miscounted. So if he is running all back through here to get trees, it's going to take a lot longer. This, in theory, would be the farthest place that he would go to get trees. And these grow back quickly. They grow in, I don't know, 30 seconds or 20 seconds. I can actually tell you. And this is how you can check if you want to know how long something takes to grow. As you click on info, 20 seconds is the length of time for trees to grow. If there is no shade, and we have no shade on those trees. Okay, so we are able to sell our wheat again, and we probably, what I'm going to do is let's see where we are money wise. But if it looks like we're okay money wise, I'm probably not going to sell the next 10, but I'll stop it at 10 so that we'll have them in there in case we run out of money in an emergency. The way you can calculate whether or not you're going to run out of money, though, is if you calculate your wages and say your wages are 210, and say you decide, well, in 28 minutes or in 30 minutes, I'm going to be able to sell. Obviously, multiply that by the number of minutes and see if you've got enough cash for that. If not, then you're going to need to plan for a different strategy there. Okay, so trying to look around and see what would be the ideal place to plant. Now, here's the thing. We're going to end up growing our town out a little bit. Um, and so these ones that we're going to plant may end up being moved, but in my opinion, most all of it is going to be redone. But basically, we're trying to get as much coverage as we can that we can manage at the money level that we have. And then eventually, we will, uh, or I would, you can do it however you want. But what I would do is accumulate some money from selling grapes, maybe $2 million or whatever, and start building it out. And if I want to remove the grapes and totally um, harvest other items, then I would just delete the grapes. All you have to do to remove something is click on it and remove it. And the crops that you plant, they don't always give you a lot of money, but like you notice, this costs $250 to plant it. It gives you back 187. So it's not a horrible thing. Now, if you're unsure and you're afraid to stick your neck out there with these expensive grapes, the Cabernet and the Chardonnay grapes are cheaper and they are faster to grow. These grow in 7 minutes and these grow in 6 minutes. And so maybe you would be like, well, why do you want to buy the Pinot Noir grapes? Well, the Pinot Noir grapes are going to sell for more money. That's 100% all I'm interested in is getting the money from the grapes. So that is where I'm coming from with that. What I'm going to do is I don't want to stop this guy in the middle of a thing, so I'm going to plant. Uh, I'm planting two of these, and then I'm going to, and I try to get as close to town as possible without really being too close that I have to worry about being shaded. When this guy, and you want to be careful. You can come here and you can stop him. But if I stopped him after he had put one of the water drums in there, but before he produced the lumber, then I would be only having 9 water drums instead of 10. And I definitely don't want that. And so, and if we have to, we can sell these ponds or we could sell this pond. But I want to use this pond for my gasoline production. So if I don't have to sell it, I don't want to. And if we have to sell gasoline, we could. So what I'm doing now, oh, did he make that lumber? He did. Let me stop him now. Because we want to be able to collect a little bit of wood so that the farmer can, you notice the farmer already put wood on that one and it's growing. And if you look closely, you can kind of see the vines. Now watch what happens after he puts that lumber here and I click on it. Let me show you what that looks like. It has a little bit different look about it because you can't see the vines yet. And so it's, if you look out at if you're growing grapes and you look out at your field and they're all like this, then you know that you've left your lumber mill running, or done something that has prevented you from getting wood, and the farmers can't bring out the wood if there is no wood, obviously. So we're back up to 5. So let's go ahead and create another, maybe 2 pieces of lumber. I'm trying to decide if I go with another. I'm going to go ahead and remove the wheat field. It doesn't cost that much if I need to put it back. See, we have 10 wheat, so we have an emergency cell, if you will. And we're going to actually get a couple more pieces of lumber done so that, or at least one more, so that if we can do 4 vines. And I think I explained that I'm trying to get as close to town as possible without having to worry about actually corrupting my little orchard with shade or pollution or anything. Now, when we actually start the gasoline production, that's it'll be, my refinery will be here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Our pollution will come all the way out to here. But if you go over, I think this far, these won't be affected. And the other grapes I'm going to put back here, so it won't be affected. Okay, so we'll have another piece of lumber momentarily. And so let's talk about how we can determine the length of time before our first grape sale. And it may be obvious to some people. Please bear with me. I'm trying to be as beginner friendly as I can. Okay, so when you first plant the grapes, you're going to end up with 7.5 minutes. Let me stop this guy. Okay, so you're going to end up with 7.5 minutes of wait time per batch that grows. I'm going to go ahead and plant another one while I'm talking, because it takes a while to even get it going. And I believe I said this is a safe area, but like I say, if it's not, some of these may end up getting replaced or whatever. But okay, so if we, right now we're down to 10,000. If we plant one more grapevine, then the maximum number of times we should have to wait would be 7.5 minutes times 3 times, because that would be 12 grapes if all 4 of these went that amount of time. So let's just round that up to 8. So, and with the way our farmer walks, 8 would be safer. So let's say 8 times 3, because we think that we need to harvest these 3 times in order to have our 10 number of 10 grapes. So that would be 3 times 8, 24 minutes. Okay, so we know that currently we're not planning to incur any other wages. We're not going to be hiring any other workers other than what we've got. And you can't stop their wages once you have them. So the 210 times 24 would be 5,040, and we have 10,073. So I think we're probably going to be safe to go ahead and plant a fourth grapevine. And we have the lumber for it. We're going to go ahead and crank this back up. We don't want to use up all the wood making lumber, and we don't want to use up all of the space in our woodshed with wood, because then when we get money back from our grape sale, then we're going to be able to really afford to plant some grapes. Probably the other 5 or 6 grapes that we will have. So looking at, we're going to have to monitor this wood and see what we're doing. But and one thing I don't know if I mentioned, but the lumberjack, when you're running a lumber mill like that, he will bring directly to you, to the lumber mill, the wood, if you've already started the lumber mill before he picks the lumber, before he picks the wood. Also, they will do the same thing with your chickens, cows, and sheep. Those require 1 wood every time. I don't know why they do it that way, but we'll talk in detail, a little more detail about that when I create a video to show you how to get started in the plains. Because the plains doesn't have trees, and it doesn't have water, and it is not as easy to start there as you would think. But the advantage is when we remove these trees to build out our thing, you can see it's going to cost us $15,000 for every tree, and $500 for every marsh, $40,000 for every rock. The only thing is, we are growing these grapes, and these grapes bring in a great amount of money. So clearing this stuff, in my opinion, is not really a big deal if you start with grapes. And like I say, I am trying to illustrate what I think is a simple, straightforward way. I've learned most of this stuff from watching other videos. So there are other videos, and some people call it, when you start with grapes, they call it grape rush. And frankly, that's how I learned to do this. But like I say, a lot of them will sell the gasoline. I prefer not to, but I can sell it and still probably make it. But by doing it the way I do it, it's not even close. You don't have to worry about it. This is like beginner friendly completely. So just keep that in mind. We're a little low on wood. However, I believe that we can go ahead and create a third piece of lumber. That way, when after our first sale, we can easily start. We can plant 3 right off the bat, and go ahead and start our lumber mill and let him be making the other 2 pieces of lumber. And that will work wonderfully, in my opinion. And there are plenty of places down here that have 2 waters. Some of these, like this one, actually has 3. 1, 2, 3. I might plant plant one over here, and then we'll plant some around here. Maybe that has 2, 1 there, 1 there, or actually 3, 1 there. Sometimes you have to kind of click on the spot to actually get a visualized feeling for what is going on with it. What did we say? 3 pieces of wood of lumber, I think, is what we're shooting for. See, we're still got 4. This is a good map. The forest is the easiest place to start, and as you see, so far we've not had any issues. You can tell we only get 10 points for selling wheat, so we've sold wheat 7 times. Now when we sell grapes, we'll start getting 200 points per sale, and we'll get, instead of $3,000, we'll get $41,000. So that is a big difference as well. So what we're doing is we're going to wait and try to monitor and watch when he gets done making the lumber. What you can do is, I don't even have to sit and watch him. I get impatient with this screen, but I can just pull this up like this, and it will show me when he comes back with another energy. It'll show up. You can kind of see a little bit in the background that he's like going into the warehouse, getting his energy, taking it over to the mill, and then he will with the water. But I like to just watch what's going on, and then when he actually gets the water, of course, if you have a screen where there's 100,000 things going on and you might get distracted, you might want to go ahead and do it that way, where you just click on the base of whatever you want to look at. And in this case, we're looking at the lumber mill. And then you click on the craft button. And now you can hear it running very slightly. And you can see now it pops back 10 seconds, everything goes to zeros, and we hit stop. And you want to do that. You don't want to stop it before he's got that product made, but you want to stop it before the lumberjack starts bringing the wood over. So now we've got 3 lumber, and we'll have 7 wood eventually, I'm sure, when it comes time. We've got 3 grapes, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, okay, so we're going to have 7.5 minutes to get these 4. But after the 7.5 minutes, we will have the longest one here would be another 3 minutes. So we have about 10.5 minutes, and we've got if in 10 minutes we would have 2,100 wages spent. So we will have, actually, we've got about probably 12 minutes worth of money. So I think that we're going to be absolutely fine. Now, let me show you how to tell how long it takes to go sell. If we run out of money while he's gone to sell, or as long as we have something to sell, it's not a big deal because they set the game up so that you wouldn't totally screw up. Everybody, if you run out of wages, everybody quits work and goes home, goes to sleep, like this or this. They just, like, he would just drop those grapes, they would be gone, and he'd walk over and get in his house if we ran out of money right this minute. However, the driver does not work by the same rules. So if we ran out of money right now, and I was like, oh my gosh, I messed up, I let myself run out of money, and I have 10 of something to sell, then I can just click on the truck, click on the thing, and sell it. And then he would, you notice it's grayed out if you don't have 10. But then he would go sell, come back. When I click on the truck, he would give us the money, and everybody would get back to work. So if you let yourself run out of money, it's not the end of the game unless you don't have anything to sell. If you look, our closest town, it costs 1 gas for the first 3 towns, which is amazing. We're right in a good area where we're close to everything, I guess. But the closest town is 1 minute and 7 seconds. So when I was saying that we would have probably 2 minutes to spare, it's probably more like 1 minute to spare. And if I start clicking away and I'm like, oh goodness, I'm not going to make it that last bit of time, and I'm worried about that, we've got our emergency weed. So as long as we are cognizant of that and we keep an eye on our money, we know what our wages are. So we still have 10 minutes, 11 minutes probably left that we can do. And so after he plants that, so in about 8 minutes we would have we will have our 10 grapes, because this one is going to be the longest, and it'll probably take him a half a minute to get over here. Then it takes 7.5 minutes to grow, and maybe a little longer than 8, because then he's got to carry it back to the silo. But this will be our 10th one. We've got 6, and so this will be 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I'm always excited about getting to the point of the first grape sale. It's probably the most rewarding to me of all of it, is when you have a great, or your first sale of anything. And especially if you're like, well, I haven't done like a lot of research on it, so I don't know how many points it counts or whatever. Then I write down how many points I have before I click on the thing. Or actually, when I send it off in the truck, I go ahead and write it down, because if I'm interested. Because sometimes when it comes back, it'll automatically register. So if you didn't know what your score was before it got back, you still wouldn't know how many points you got. So unless you know, like if I didn't know, but I knew I'd sold wheat 7 times, then obviously I know that I would have 70 points. But typically, you're so much farther in the game and you've sold too many things at that point to know. Okay, so let's see. What I'm going to do is I don't really have anything else much to talk about. If you notice, we can make 3 more uh, pieces of lumber on the amount of water that we have, and we've got 3. So we're gonna have 10 plants. We're probably going to need at least 1 more farmer um, to assist with those plants. Probably 2 more would be good. And we don't really want to put it there. I'll probably just put a spot over here. And what I like to do is, like, I wouldn't want to put a spot right here as far as you have to put down a piece of road. Because if I put it right here, then I'm blocked on 3 sides by trees. I can only put 1 building next to that. If I put it right here, then I'm blocked on 1 side, but I can put 3 buildings next to this 1 piece of road. So think about those kinds of things when you're trying to do, but also keep in mind it's only $1,000 for a dirt road. But right now, if I messed up and went ahead and built that dirt road, we'd be in trouble money wise. So always be conscious of your budget. And right now, our budget is not to put the farmers down, it's to make it to market on the uh, grape sale. And so it looks like 4 minutes is our projected time. What I'm going to do is, like I say, I've had problems with the videos being too long. So I just want to pause it for a minute and I'll be back in just about 3 or 4 minutes. I'll come back in time for you to be able to see him get the last grape and take it to the warehouse and see the sale. So I'll be right back. All right, a couple of minutes have passed and our last grapevine is just a few seconds away from becoming ripe. Our farmer is going to go ahead and put some wood on that one, get it growing back, and then we'll grab our grapes and bring them to the shed. Now, we did not have much time left. We have about not even 2 minutes. We've got about 1.5 minutes of life left. And the thing of it is, the difference between doing the wheat and the grapes as far as the sale goes, we're going to get that off like right away because we don't want to, we don't really want our town to go down. So we've got a minute left, if you can see over here, a minute. So before, what'll happen is we'll tick down this minute and then we'll start flashing red because it'll be letting us know that unless you do something before this other minute runs out, you're going to be dead in the water as far as your workers go. They're going to go home because you can't pay them. And who would blame them, right? Now, what I want to do before we, since we've got the grapes off, we are in the clear. So I want to click on my silo, and be careful what you click on. It would be terrible to flush the wood and lumber out of there. So I want to click on my silo and just go ahead and flush it, because I don't care about that lost money. Now, see what I mean about it flashing red? It will give us around till this timer expires, and then because we don't have enough money to pay the wages, it will shut our city down. We don't really want that to happen, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on this guy, and boom, we have 41K. Now, with that money, I want to go ahead. First of all, I want to get our lumber mill going. And then second of all, I want to plant. Like I said, we have three more. We have 3 pieces of lumber, and it doesn't hurt anything to go ahead and just plop down some these grapevines, because when it comes down to it, I don't really care which one of those he starts first. Wherever he puts that lumber is good enough, and that way he can just go back and forth at his leisure, because these guys take so long anyway. And then the next 2 that I start, I'm probably going to do one here and one here. And we also talked about putting a piece of road over here so that we can build potentially three houses around it. So what I'm going to do is, and the reason why I'm picking over there is just because it is, let me tell you, that's kind of a out of the way area. I've got my crops growing down here, so that's not going to be in the way. I could, if I didn't need this wind turbine any further, I could go in that area, and that's a big area that's open, that I could put down a piece of road and click and build something on all 4 sides of that. But you have to keep things within the shade factor. Like for this, I could build a wood shed here, and because it has a factor of 1 around it, then this 1 is all you need between it. But this, if I put the warehouse over here, it needs 2, so that would affect my wind turbine. So anyway, you'll figure out more in detail probably by putting the wrong thing in the wrong spot. That happens, and it's just part of the game, and you'll pay more close attention if you have that happen, because I know that certainly made me stop to think before and double check before I do things. Now, the dirt road, if I put that in the wrong place, I'd be like, well, it cost me $1,000. So net effect, because if I removed it, I get $250 back. Net effect $750. That's not going to make me too upset. Let's see where we are on our lumber production. Okay, so he's down here with the lumber. So we've got 2 lumber up here, and we're kind of out of wood a little bit. So what we're going to do is, once he finishes this, I think that's, no, once he finishes this piece of lumber, we're going to take a breather, let the farmer get caught up, and maybe go ahead and build a couple of farmers, about 3 farmers. Farmers are inexpensive. They only cost like $12.50 to purchase, and then they're only $10 a minute. But you get what you pay for. They're slow, but they're not as slow as these builders. And so anyway, I guess the point of that was to say that if you want to have several of them and part of the time they're just sitting around, and then when it's time to tend to the grapes, you really want the grapes tended to. We're putting them farther away. So actually, I think what I'll do is put one here and one here. And this will be a little bit closer than down here. Okay, so he's carrying the water. We're going to stop this guy after this lumber is created. And when you hear that click, you know that he's done. All right, so we've got 2 lumber that are waiting. And wait a minute, did I miscount? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have 3 more to do. I only have 1 more lumber to create, and I've got 2 lumber there. Now, the thing is, when I plant the vines, though, they're going to need wood. And I don't have a lot of wood, and I wanted to create some more farmers. And it takes 1 piece of wood to build a farmer house. If you ever want to know what it takes to build something, and I don't know if I explained that these tabs uh, show the different areas, and you can figure out what you need from that. But these cost $12.50, and it takes 1 wood to build it. You can get additional info about stuff. Materials needed: 1 wood, $10 a minute. Must be near a road. Okay, most everything needs to be near a road except the builder's house or crops, or I don't know. That's all I can think of at this second. It seems like there's one other thing. So what we'll do is we're getting some wood built back up now. Go ahead and build 2 farmers. It'll take him a few minutes to do that. And so we've got 2 vines that we can place, and we'll go ahead and place them. We've got 20K. We always have to be cognizant of our funds. So we'll go ahead and put our grapevines for those 2. He should. Now, I will cancel these if he picks up a piece of lumber and starts heading that way, because I want him to do the farmhouse first. But since he wasn't interrupted and this is closer and it was put down first, all those things tend to affect it. Yeah, see, there he goes with the wood. So he's going to build that next, which is good. Now we'll have 2 farmers. One's already got to work. We've got 2 working, one going to come and help. So we can get the wood on those, and by the time he gets the lumber down here, we should have enough wood in our woodshed from this guy to handle that. Once we get all that straightened out, we will turn our lumber mill back on, create our last piece of lumber, and then place our grapes. And I think I'm going to play some. Well, I don't know that if this is any closer than this. Either one of those places works just fine. I'll probably just go with this one to be straight shot down here. The thing that can annoy you sometimes if you let it is the fact that you might have 10 farmers and they're all going to be trying to bring a piece of wood down to one spot instead of doing something else that needs to be done. And then once they get there, once he reaches it, then they got to run all the way back and put the thing back. So there are little things about the programming that you're like, that could have been done better, but maybe it wasn't because well, for one, it's a game, but for two, maybe they want it to take longer for whatever reason. They don't want you to just rush in and get everything done and built and make all this money and get bored with it. They want it to be and right now I'm just speculating. I don't know. I had nothing to do with the programming of the game. Okay, so let's see. He's going to take the last piece of lumber that we have down to here. And then that is going to, now see, since there were already two ones that needed wood, he dropped his wood off over here and then he changed direction and picked it up. Now he's going to get the grapes, which that is one good thing about the way they programmed it. I do like that a lot of times when they take wood out, if grapes pop, they'll grab them and take it back. You don't have to wait for them to go all the way back and come all the way back and get the grapes. But sometimes you do because for whatever reason, it's like this farmer over here maybe called the grapes and so he'll just pass them by and you'll have to wait for him to come down and get it. Best thing to do is not be impatient. Just enjoy the game for what it is. It's actually kind of if you come in close, like if you scroll down with this with your mouse wheel, um, it's kind of cool to just like look at the characters a little more closely. Um, the little you can't get too close, but if you look at some of the detail, like this little guy, he's got on gloves. He's a builder and wearing gloves. Well, guess what? That's what you expect. The farmer, I don't know about you, but I'm from the South and I've seen quite a few farmers, and that's a pretty good little thing. The red and white hat, flannel shirt, the overalls. I like it. I buy it. And just different things. The lumberjack, he looks like what I would expect Paul Bunyan to look like or some other lumberjack type. And anyway, I am getting sidetracked. So what we've got is we're wanting to make one more piece of lumber. Well, I would say we have one piece of wood. However, these little jokers got overzealous, but we do need another piece of wood there. We're already up to 6 grapes, and so what we're going to do is we are going to, okay, so they're taking 2 pieces of wood to where we need 1, and then we're going to need 1 for that. So let's just say that we have 2 extra pieces of wood. Now, if I turn on my my lumber mill, he will go and get one of these pieces. This guy will bring a piece, and then he'll go back and get another piece while the lumberjack brings an additional piece. So most likely we're going to decrease our number here by 2. And it just so happens that we have 2 in there and they've got 1 extra. So now would be a good time to go ahead and make our last piece of lumber. I don't know if all that explanation was confusing or helpful, but you will certainly figure this stuff out once you're actually doing it. And I created this town on the free account, but the free and the weekly competition server, they are the same, and there is no benefit of being on this server other than if you wanted to do some experimenting, like if you want to say, oh, I want to try mining, but by the time I get to the point where I feel good about my town, then the week is over, they reset it, I can never get anywhere. Experimenting is really good on the free server because, like, if you look up here, we've got 17 days left. You can click on that. It tells you up here 17 days and 22 hours and 14 minutes before the reset is going to happen. Therefore, if you want to try a whole bunch of different things, I would recommend just getting on the free server, setting up a town somewhere, and experimenting. That's what I like to do. That way you can, like if you build up a town and use the grapes to get your money, you might end up, with, oh, let me try a build to make cakes. Well, then you might do that and decide, well, I like this about it, or I don't like whatever. I don't think I would want to do that. Then you could, if you're on this server, you could probably just sell everything and start over because you're probably going to have millions of dollars. And so that's what I have done myself. And then I make notes about if I do like a build for cakes, I'm like, okay, well, I needed, 8 windmills for salt, and I needed 10 for wheat or flour, and I needed 12 for sugar. I would like make a note of that just so next time I go there and do it, especially if I'm on the competition server, then I don't have to say, let me calculate how many of this or that. When you've done it and you can see it, then you know. And look at that. It's time to sell grapes again. We still got 8K. So it's time to sell. Now, let me give you a little bit of synopsis about where I would go from here. I already said that I'm going to put a water pump here, and I cannot create anymore, even though I've got all this. Oops, I left that running, didn't I? Let me stop that. Sorry, I got distracted. And I know I lost some materials, but I don't have water. I used my last, and there is let me go ahead and plant my 10th grapevine just because we had talked about it but still we had $3,300 left over. And look at that. They got the grapes it seemed to come quickly once you got 10 vines down. Then 7.5 minutes seems like nothing. So the next steps are to build out the gas production, and it doesn't take long. You see, I'm already 44,000, and I don't really have anything in particular that I need to spend my money on. So another 7.5 minutes, and I'll get another 40,000. I'll have 88,000. Be able to put my water pump in and whatnot. But I'm going to make another video on this is the forest start, and I'm going to make a video on the um, forest start gasoline part. So I'm just going to really pause this, or not pause it, but in this video. And after I generate a little bit of money, then I'm going to start that video. So thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And good luck in the game. You can actually win some Gala tokens, which is real money. So I hope this video was helpful. Have a great day.